Hey everyone, so this is part 2 of the factoring trinomials video. If you haven't seen part 1, make sure you go watch that because we're just going to be doing more examples here. There's not going to be any steps in this one, so see part 1 if you haven't yet. So let's go ahead and look at example 7. So remember, we start off by making our chart. So in this case, A times C would be 2 times negative 3, which would be negative 6. B would just be 5. So we need the factors of 6, 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Now remember, the sign of the bigger number matches B. B is positive, so we're going to make the bigger numbers positive. But since AC is negative, that means that we're going to need to have different signs on our two factors. So if we need different signs and the bigger is positive, that means the smaller ones need to be negative. And now we can just add these up. So negative 1 plus 6 would be 5. Negative 2 plus 3 would be 1. So the factors that we're looking for are negative 1 and positive 6. And then we can go ahead and split B. So 2n squared comes down, minus 1n, or just n, plus 6n minus 3. And then we can do our grouping. So for the first group, the GCF would just be n. So if we take n out, we're going to end up with 2n minus 1 inside the parentheses still. For the second group, the GCF would be 3. So we're going to have plus 3 times, again, 2n minus 1. Our insides match, and so 2n minus 1 times n plus 3 is our answer. Alright, example 8. So start with the chart. A times C would be 8 times negative 3, which is negative 24. B is negative 5. So we look for factors of negative 24, 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. Alright, B is negative, which means we want our bigger numbers to be negative. And AC is negative 24, so that means we want our signs to be opposites. They already are opposites, so we don't have to change the sign of the smaller one. Then we add these up. So 1 minus 24 would be negative 23. 2 minus 12 would be negative 10. 3 minus 8 would be negative 5. And 4 minus 6 would be negative 2. So 3 and negative 8 are the two factors that we're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and split B into these two factors. So we have 8x squared plus 4x, plus 3x minus 8x minus 3. And then we do our grouping. So for the first group, they both share an x. So we're going to have x times 8x plus 3. For the second group, 8 and 3 don't share any common factors, so we would just take out a 1, but since it starts with a negative, we're going to take out a negative 1. So we have negative 1 times, again, 8x plus 3. our insides match. And so as long as our insides match, we're going to have 8x plus 3 times x minus 1, and that's our answer. All right, example 9. Start with the chart. So a times c would be 20, and b is negative 9. Factors of 20 would be 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. B is negative, that means the bigger number is going to be negative. And AC is positive, which means they need to have matching signs. So if the bigger is negative, the smaller also needs to be negative. And then we add them up. So negative 1 minus 20 be negative 21. Negative 2 minus 10 would be negative 12. And negative 4 minus 5 would be negative 9. So those are the factors that we want. So we go ahead and split b into those two. So we're going to get x squared minus 4x minus 5x plus 20. Then we do our grouping. So for the first group, we can take out an x, and we'll have x times x minus 4. For the second group, we can take out negative 5, because remember, it starts with a negative. So we're going to have negative 5 times x minus 4. Insides match, and so we're going to have x minus 4 times x minus 5. All right, example 10. So for example 10, again, this has two different variables, but we're going to do it the exact same way. So a times c would be negative 21, and b would be 4. So negative 21, factors that would be 1 and 21, 3 and 7, and that would be it. So b is positive, which means we want to keep the bigger numbers positive, but AC is negative. So if AC is negative, that means we need to have opposite signs. So if the bigger is positive, the smaller is going to be negative. And then add them up. So negative 1 plus 21 would be 20. Negative 3 plus 7 would be 4. So negative 3 and 7 are the ones that we want. And we can split b into those. So we're going to have x squared minus 3xy. Don't forget the xy because that's what we started with. Then plus 7xy minus 21y squared. Then we can go ahead and group it. So for the first group, we can take out an x from each. So we're going to have x times x minus 3y. From the second group, we can take out a 7y. So we're going to have plus 7y times x minus 3y. Insides match, so we're going to have x minus 3y times x plus 7y. All right, example 11. Let's see, just erase that. There we go. All right, so for example 11, start with the chart. A times C would be 4 times negative 5, which is negative 20, and B is positive 19. So factors of 20, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. B is positive, so we know we're going to keep the bigger one positive. The AC is negative, so we want them to have opposite signs. So the smaller one needs to be opposite, so it needs to be negative. Then we add these up. So negative 1 plus 20 is 19. Negative 2 plus 10 is 8. Negative 4 plus 5 is 1. So negative 1 and 20, those are the factors that we want. So if we split B, we're going to have 4x squared minus 1x, or just minus x, plus 20x minus 5. Then we do our grouping. So for the first group, we're going to have a GCF of x. So we're going to have x times 4x minus 1. For the second group, we'd have a GCF of 5. So we're going to have plus 5 times 4x minus 1. Insides match, and so we're going to have 4x minus 1 times x plus 5. All right, last one of these. So, like always, start with the chart. 2 times 13 would be 26, and B would be 10. So factors of 26 be 1 and 26, 2 and 13, and that's it. So everything was positive. So remember, if everything's positive, we're not changing any signs. Everything just stays positive. And we add them up. So 1 plus 26 is 27. 2 plus 13 is 15. And so on this one, you're going to notice something is wrong. We're usually looking for the two factors that add up to B. But in this case, none of these factors add up to 10, which we want. So if this ever happens, what this means is that you actually can't factor this one. This one we call prime. So anytime the AC chart doesn't find two factors to be able to add up to B, just write prime and you're done. And that is all for factoring trinomials.